August 11th, 2021. I call to order the meeting of the Ware Conservation Commission. Andy Fulton, the chair, and from left to right, we got Mike, the secretary. Way to the right, we've got Mark, and we got Ray. That makes 4 of us. 2 members told me they were not going to be able to make it tonight. And on the third one, I haven't heard one way or the other, but we've got 4, so we can move ahead. All right. In our guest seating, we have Neil Kirk, who has expressed interest in joining the commission, sitting in on the meeting to take it in and see what we've got going tonight. And your name, ma'am?
Janet Curcio-Wilson.
And another guest we have is Janet Wilson, or Curcio-Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And is that a hyphenated last name?
I don't hyphenate it, but the world does.
Okay. Well, for our records, we will try not to hyphenate. But
Okay, thanks.
is it C-U-R-S-I-O?
CIO.
C-U-R-C-I-O Wilson. All right, and Janet, we have communicated by email. So in just a minute, we'll have you come up and we can talk about that issue. Everybody's seen the agenda, right? Had the opportunity to. And so at this point, if there's something that's not on the agenda, and there are a couple items that I have, let me know. And this was one, Mike, what's this one?
It's from Janet.
This one is something that Janet shared from a neighbor, I gather?
Yes.
Okay.
Right on the phone.
Great, thank you. And you all had a chance to take a look at it? Okay, good. Any other items tonight, Mark? And Ray?
Nope.
Mike?
Nope.
All right. So I'll just have a few things from email to catch at the end. As is our habit, if we have guests in attendance, we'll bring you right up to the front of the meeting, Janet, so you don't have to spend any extra time. But please come right up to the podium and speak your interest, and we'll do our best to try to help and ask some questions to help us understand also.
Great, thank you very much for having me tonight. I appreciate it. Back in May of 2021, I and several neighbors noticed 12 plus healthy trees chopped down right on the shoreline of 116 Martin Road, owned by Brian Kaplan. Mr. Kaplan apparently bought the property on the 17th of August 2020. It is also the home of what we call the Ware Boathouse that was built by Mr. Backus years ago, in the Frank Lloyd Wright style of houses, and it is grandfathered in. It overhangs the lake. To the left and right of that historic building were enormous, some of them as old as 120-year-old trees that were decimated one afternoon in May. Lori McGuire and her 3 sons, who live at 159 Pondview Road, a couple of houses down from our property, is also lakefront, and her son registered the first complaint with the Department of Environmental Services. I was involved with my doctoral program and unable to participate as I run my own business as well. So it wasn't until there was a decent break in my schedule and I happened to go over to the McGuire's house, and I was sick to my stomach when I looked over there. the erosion now, because of the removal of those trees, is significant. The individual who sold the house prior to Mr. Kaplan purchasing it had put in gravel as a driveway to the Creed's house. I don't know if you know the way the setup is, but the Creeds pass through the backyard of the Kaplans in order to get to their cabin, which is just to the south, also lakefront. And now we have erosion problems, which means runoff, which means an alteration of that pond, which I don't know if you know is one of 2 potable ponds in the entire state. It is absolutely pristine. And it's a gift. It's really a gift for us to be able to reside there, waterfront on that body of water. It is known, Mr. Backus himself had chosen to make it no motorized vehicles on that pond because of the pristine natural splendor of the trees and everything else that is there. There are several people who are outraged by the fact that the DES apparently came out and we don't know. I have to be careful what I say. I do not know. I have no evidence of exactly what they did. I'm hoping that the Conservation Commission can look deeply into this matter. I have contracted a lawyer on this issue as well. I'm not backing down. There are several neighbors who are outraged by this decimation as well. So bless you, Andy and Stephen Najjar. When I contacted you, you immediately informed me I needed to fill out a WARE complaint form, which I did. Took pictures, which I did. Submitted before and after pictures not only to the Department of Environmental Services, but also to WMUR, to my alma mater, Antioch New England Graduate School, where the Environmental Studies program is known worldwide. And I intend to get a hold of the UNH program as well. This is an outrage. So I understand these people are, quote, very nice people. I think we're all very nice people, if you ask me. Sometimes we do not so informed things. So I've submitted copies of everything I have to you guys via email from the Environmental Services Program, and Jen Drozak is the compliance specialist in those documents who was reviewing the documents. I don't have a copy of it, I just like maybe a day ago, got a letter from the DES indicating this case was closed and they would not circle back around to review it for another couple of weeks. Thus my contact of attorney Kevin O'Neill. So,
Janet, that sounds like a contradiction.
what?
If the case is closed according to the state, then how might they review it in a couple weeks?
I formally made another complaint, and I asked them to, in my letter, to reopen this case, that they did not follow the letter of the law, which is restoration. Now, apparently there are 2 pieces to the law, and I'm not a lawyer, so I hope I'm not misquoting, but I understand that when something like this happens, you are supposed to, as a landowner, follow the ordinances of your town, number 1, and then the enforcement division is the DES. So I think it really, again, the linchpin is, what did the DES find? What were they told by Mr. Kaplan? And what did they decide? I don't know the answers to those questions. And I'd
So
like
there's
to,
been no direct voice communication between you or your neighbors that you know of with DES? Jen or anybody else in the
Lori
program?
McGuire's son was the one who was the closest to the situation when it transpired, because he made the original complaint. So it is from him that I heard the DES came out, looked at the damage, and there was no remuneration or restoration for the Kaplans as a result. And here's my concern. It's one thing to have an ordinance, well-intentioned, and I'm appreciative of our ordinances regarding the keeping the natural splendor of the pond for the environmental reasons. It's another thing to turn our backs on the enforcement, and that's why I'm vigilantly pursuing this, because if we let this go, then house by house by house, lakefront, I don't want that tree there. And the next thing you know,
Right.
they're chopping it down.
Right.
And that means there goes Winnipesaukee, there goes Massabesic, there goes all the lakes in New Hampshire. So something
Right, the
needs
ordinance or the state law is there
to protect.
to protect
Yeah,
state waters
Yeah, exactly.
on the great ponds and rivers. Just because essentially clearing land down to the water's edge creates the opportunities for erosion, which degrades water quality. Do you
Which-
happen to have
Again.
pictures? I'm thinking like, did somebody fly a drone, take a picture showing a sediment plume coming out from their property with some of these big rains or anything as grand as that? Or
I don't think
photographs
so.
from ground level or lake level or pond level that are showing?
I could more than be willing to do that myself on a boat. What I
about-
have is the photographs that I sent to you with.
For some reason, I'm sorry, I didn't see those. So
Okay.
if you could share those tonight, that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. Those are the before pictures showing the healthy trees that were there. And it is rumored, and again, I have to be careful because I did not have firsthand experience with this. I hear it's kind of like from Lori McGuire's son to the Creeds. There was a conversation, and there are two issues. One is still in the offing, but the first one is that the DES came and was told they were sickly, the trees were sickly. I do not believe that if you look over there now, you can see the stumps and you can clearly see there is one tree that has a hole in it. So one of those trees had barring insects in it. But all the other trees, there's no evidence of illness. So I don't know if the DES hires an arborist to determine illness. I don't know why they closed the case again. And I said there were two issues. The second one is there was a conversation between the younger McGuire and the Creeds, and the Creeds told, I don't know his first name, the younger McGuire, that the plan was to cut the trees down, bring truckloads of sand in, and they were going to level the Ware Boathouse. So Lori's letter is clear that she's very concerned. What are they going to take the proper provisions if they level the boathouse? Which is, I think, a historic building. That's something to think about as well. So, and again, this has to be checked out because it's like third-party removed
Right,
information.
I know you're presenting it as
I'm trying to be as-
anecdotal, and that's
Yes,
very
as-
important that you choose your words as best you can.
Yes.
But for a, initial snapshot or a picture, we appreciate that you're trying your best to paint it as you see it. It doesn't sound like there's anything formal response-wise from DES yet, as in a letter or
Yeah.
something
Well, just
saying-
that email saying they're
you know-
reopening, because of the fact that I filed yet another formal complaint.
So you do have direct correspondence from DES saying that they'll have another look?
That's right.
Okay, that's,
We
Good to know.
got the original letter, the investigation from DES a couple months ago.
And that's what I was going to ask you.
And
What's the content of their
Well,
I
finding?
ago.
haven't
Okay.
heard, I didn't hear the conclusion of that. I'm trying to find it now, and this is
oh,
Thank
again,
you.
all right, you're saying
speaking off my,
basically, we received your complaint, we're looking into it type of letter, or was there any
a complaint
determination
was
from it?
received by DES, they went and investigated it, and then this is me speaking off memory, I'm trying to look up
Yep.
the document, but, they were supposed to plant, vegetation along the shoreline, and I don't remember that DES said the trees were sick. So you said that was a DES finding, or?
Well, see, again, I can't say that. That was this one said to that one, said to this one.
Yeah.
So
from,
what
from
we
what I
really need
remember,
is
there
facts.
was what I remember is that DES noted the large trees were cut down, that there was a gravel driveway there was some work that needed to be done to the gravel driveway because of the erosion that could happen, and that is happening.
Yep, okay, so they acknowledge the erosion. I think I have been asked to get the ordinance names and numbers, provisions, that the commission has. Attorney Kevin O'Neill was unable to locate the specific ordinances, although he spent a couple of hours today looking at Ware's town commission environmental ordinances. So if you have copies, or someone can follow up and send me the name and numbers of those ordinances so that my attorney might be able to look at those, I'd be greatly appreciative of that.
Now, on that, are you thinking just at the town level where we are pulled into it, or are you also having trouble finding
No,
The
the state, they found the state ones.
All right,
They're
just
having
for the
trouble with
local.
the town local ordinances, environmental ordinances that govern this
Right.
sort of event.
And
And
those are, as I understand, solely within the zoning regs.
yeah, he looked.
And I believe is it 27?
29, I thought.
29?
Article 29 is the wetland one.
It's a paragraph at, maybe two at most,
Really?
in our zoning. Article 29 is
Okay.
the best guess here. I had thought 27, Naomi says 29, and I haven't looked at it lately,
Well,
so
that's
I'd
why
go
I
with
asked for an
29.
email. If someone
So
could follow up.
Zoning Article 29,
Yep,
and that's relative to the wetland buffer and disturbance, ground disturbance within 25 feet
yep. It
of
certainly
of
is.
jurisdictional wetlands, and certainly the pond border is jurisdictional wetland. Exactly where that is on any given lot can vary, but, work disturbing the ground within 25 feet of the pond would be, more or less, would be where the zoning ordinance applies.
Okay. And the second half of this has not yet occurred. So I believe the Environmental Commission is in a good position to be preventative regarding the removal of the Ware Boathouse. I don't know what the laws are relative to their rights as landowners to remove that building. Maybe they're fully within their rights, but I do know the environmental impact, if they do not put some sort of a screen on that pond as the destruction ensues, we have another problem that is going to impact the environment. And I also don't know how, for lack of a better word, sentimental Ware is about that boathouse. It is called the Ware Boathouse. I don't know if it falls under historic buildings of Ware or not.
Well, I believe a structure that's in the buffer that hangs over the pond, removal of that, if it has any sort of foundation, would
Cinder blocks,
be construed as a ground disturbance within
25 feet.
the wetlands buffer,
That's
and
it.
would need a variance such that it would be taken to the zoning board and would need to be approved by variance by the zoning board in that application to our local ordinance. I would think a structure partially in the water would be very interesting to the state environmental services, shoreland and wetland programs, when you think what's needed for alterations to a dock versus removing a structure at the water's edge, I don't know for certain, but I would bet that there is some state level permitting to do that legally, do that properly.
So, yeah, I found that letter, so DES agrees with you. They said, during the inspection, Mr.
Do
Kaplan
you have a
stated...
date on that?
Yes, this date is May 28th, the letter came in.
Okay.
And speaking to that, to the property, I lost it now. Stated there is a waterfront structure, is in need of repair, and has structural engineer scheduled to assess it. In response, since the structure was constructed in wetlands jurisdiction, DES recommends contacting DES Wetland Bureau and speaking to a wetland permitting specialist before conducting any repair or replacement work on the structure to determine whether permits will be needed. And the letter also states that they should not lay down any more crushed stone, gravel, or sand. And DES personnel recommends contacting a landscaper or other qualified professional. Consider removing the crushed stone, the gravel, loaming the area, and planting it with native vegetation, especially to exposed slopes, and constructing a rain garden on the property.
And today's August 11th, and there's no such follow-through as far as I can tell. I don't know, do they have a date of completion?
It's just all recommendations. It finishes with pretty much a contact New Hampshire DES Wetlands Bureau before doing anything else. Any work within 250-foot protected shoreland needs to be, or there's the potential to need
How
a
much?
permit. 250-foot protected shoreland.
Yeah. Is there a possibility of getting a hold of that letter?
I can forward it to you. Yep, that's public knowledge.
That's Curcio, JCURCIO7 @gmail.com. No pen, huh?
I don't have a pen.
All those electronic
Yeah, I have
devices.
electronic, yeah.
Okay. Naomi,
So
you'll send
Janet,
it
I
to me.
have your email upstairs. I also have the letter, because I send these guys the letter,
Yeah,
so I
okay.
can send it to you.
So I guess from a human point of view, and because we need advice, and you guys are way more knowledgeable about this arena than I am, I'm wondering what rights do abutting homeowners have, pond sharing homeowners have? I don't know. I
Well,
don't know.
I think there, on any good, conflict, there are rights on both sides. There are public rights and there are private rights. This is a public water. It is state water. It's shared by all. So an offense to that water is an offense to the state and to the members, the citizens, the residents of the state. You generally, or one generally doesn't have the ability to dictate to a neighbor.
What they do.
In a lot of ways, it's not advisable, but you're limited opportunities for influence. We have some role to play as a local body, as a Conservation Commission for town. But we're looking at levels. You've got, state has some enforcement, but the state is all over the place and limited resources. They're not here very often. And they're, unfortunately, but fortunately, it's a secluded place, even though it's right next to 114. It's not a drive-by and they'll see, oh, yeah, there's a big problem there. Now we've got a clear cut, and they're bulldozing and putting in sand that's going to flow down to the lake and creating a huge beach or anything like that. So they're going to say, well, town of Ware, you're always in town, can you help us? And then we got a few people around this table, and we've got, one person, full-time employee, doing many different things for the town. So we're gonna say, well, all right, maybe one of our members lives near, on the pond or close by and is aware, generally aware, yep.
Stevens close.
As well, maybe not just Steve.
I'm your neighbor too. I live at 91.
No way.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Mike Camacho.
Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, haven't met you. Glad to meet you.
You too, yeah.
But, all it takes is, for the real offense, on-the-ground offense to happen is somebody to bring the equipment in when nobody's watching.
Oh, we were
And then,
watching.
and
That
then,
was the scene.
and then it's done, and the Conservation Commission can say, well, wow, all right, we weren't able to stop that. Now what do we do? Now the problem's
Damage
even
is
worse.
done, yeah.
So yes, well, what are your rights, or what can you do? Well, you always have the right of observation and sharing that observation. So you have several neighbors in the area, maybe some are around during the day. If equipment rolls in and it's starting to break things and tear things down and dig things up, you need to contact right then the town, and what the town can do, it's hard,
Stop
is
the-
a cease and desist.
the
Say,
cease
hold
and
on,
desist. Yeah,
show me
okay.
what you're doing. That we do have local ordinance, and we are generally aware of state ordinance.
Yep.
Time out. And there are police powers to do that and say, stop the equipment. So that's something you can do right now. And that's something you can do better than anybody from the conservation, although we do have members close by,
Yeah,
or especially anybody from the state.
yeah.
Document, document, document. There's your case. You have the before and the after.
Mhm.
I know it's, there's technologies that are available to some, and, but the tighter you can say, this happened at this time in this location based on evidence, the
Mhm.
better case you have to show anybody who might be claiming ignorance that, that game's over. You're pushing the boundaries, and we're pushing back because you're offending the public domain. It's not just a private land use question. And that's the whole reason why
So
folks
now
get
that I
mixed up
know
with the
that,
shoreline program.
if I see them even starting to take that house apart, I will call.
As
But
well
I
you-
did not know that
Yeah,
then.
right.
So, and certainly a call I could have squeezed in during that time. What do we do now that the damage is done? I mean, are you
Well, that-
saying there are
that-
no
that is
rights
where-
at all?
No, well, there may be a no right situation. It's all wrong. But what you can do, and what's effective to most public, be they local or state bodies, is, and it's hard, take the time to keep the feet warm. Some might say, keep the feet to the fire. Remove the excuse of laziness, oh, I didn't know about that, and keep it front and center, so that the folks working at DES realize, oh, we've got natural allies and neighbors here. Okay, maybe they make us work harder, but it's come to a better understanding now. It's like, oh, okay. Now we know we have to work harder in this location because now we're better aware of the value of the natural resource that's being impinged, or we know better the potential tendency to malfeasance on a property owner, to do things, and then, the old adage, it's better to apologize and ask permission sort of thing.
Mm.
And to say, look, your own words here say restoration. This is not restoration. It hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And in a location like this,
You don't just
along
plant
a-
bushes and call it a day is my problem. These are old trees. The fine should have been $20, $40, $50,000 adolescent trees
That-
planted in
yeah.
that location.
that is something
Personal
I
opinion.
cannot speak to.
I know. But, I'm afraid we're gonna see a few little measly bushes go in, and we can call it a day
That
now.
might be the calculus of some people who say, well, what can they do to me? They can hit me with a little fine, couple grand, I don't care, but now I got the view I wanted when I
Well,
first set foot.
Why we call
You
it
know,
the
that's,
news
that's,
channel.
well, to bring that to a better conclusion probably is stepping out of the public body, help me with this realm to a civil, some sort of, potentially even civil litigation.
We're
And I
working
don't know anything about that, but this is a good conversation to explore, what you can do, what we can do, what our knowledge is of what the state supposedly has at least thought, if not acted on.
So,
And as you have continued to make them aware that there are issues, it's good that in a couple weeks, maybe we'll have personnel available from the state who can say, return, make arrangements, return and say, this isn't up to snuff. Here's the evidence of, on the ground, inactivity or erosion or further things. And without that sort of push on them, yeah, it probably is one of these things, oh,
it'll go
we're
away.
really sad that that's happened, but eventually nature will heal itself, and we have one more water body like so many others that has, had another shot of unhelpful nutrients or sediment or what have you that happens.
So I know how hard it is.
Hold on,
Go ahead.
just a second. Yeah, Ray, please.
Depending on how much property these people own on the shorefront,
Yes.
normally when somebody wants to do work on their shorefront, they really should hire an engineer first. And that's kind of stipulated in the law. You're not supposed to touch anything within 50 feet at
That's
all.
right.
But the DES assigns a point system to every size plant that is within that 50-foot buffer. And big trees have a very high point value. So if you own a piece of property on a lake, you should hire an engineer to mark all the trees and note them. They get a point system assigned to them. And if you want to cut down a really big tree, if it's diseased, and they can show that it's diseased, it's worth a lot less in points, because now it becomes a danger.
Okay.
But they can go on that 50-foot buffer, but you have to be very careful. There's a lot of gray areas. Just cutting the tree down and leaving the stump is not considered ground disturbance. But if you mess up the ground while you're cleaning up the tree, if you got a backhoe in there and you make a mess, you've disturbed the ground. And you have to put up siltation controls before that activity.
Okay. So like a silt fence
A
or.
silt fence, a sock, whatever.
Right.
And we do it on a weekly basis. That's what we do. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Ray LeMay.
Ray LeMay. Thank you.
So, it's a little complicated, though. So if you were to instigate a lawsuit against this person, let's say, personally, you just want to reconsider how much money you're going to spend doing it, and it probably is easier to prove, what do I want to say here? I don't want to say that they didn't do anything wrong, but it's easy for them to justify what they did, and it'll end up costing you a lot of money for nothing, and you still don't get the trees back. Nothing comes back. Now, there are some places that we've worked, they did cut down some big trees like that. It was assigned a point system. They have to plant something back.
Isn't it of equal
No,
size
no,
and?
it can be, I'm just gonna use arbitrary numbers. Let's say a big tree is worth 100 points.
Okay.
If you plant 10 bushes that are worth 10 points apiece,
Oh, you
you've
made up
replaced
for
the 100
tree.
points.
Wow, we don't know a lot about nature, do we? That's unreal.
So in the meantime, from the pictures I saw, it didn't look like there was the gravel in place the way it is now, or just the way it looked on those pictures?
Well, that was the sale of the house Zillow photos from 8/20/20.
The,
But
the
if
gravel
they-
doesn't come down to the shore.
Right, but if
It's up
they've
on the-
added
cuts
soil and
across.
done something,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
to impact the water or the shoreline, that's a completely separate issue than the trees.
Yes.
That's another issue altogether. They could have done the same thing even if they didn't cut the trees down, say add soil and whatnot,
Soil.
make a beach. You can't do that.
Right.
So that's
And
just,
and there are cases of people who have done that, who have had to pay for the removal of all that material that they've dumped.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
usually it's cases when there are watchdogs. There are, invested third parties who keep an eye out and push a
Yeah.
little bit.
Right, right, exactly. Okay, so thank you, Ray. That's very educational and helpful. If we could just move to the second problem, which is the plan to destroy the Ware Boathouse. What are the thoughts regarding that? That's on the shore.
yeah, DES would probably favor removing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because.
Just like they remove all the dams, you know, how they people, same thing. It's impacting the natural shoreline, so if it's removed completely,
Yeah,
it's better for nature. If they want to replace it and build another one, they might have a big problem doing it. So they have to leave that one alone.
yeah.
That's where the DES probably recommended that they hire an engineer to look at it, because they're gonna have to tread very carefully there. But if they wanna remove it, unless it's classified as a historic structure,
That was my next question.
if it was, then they couldn't touch it. But if not, and they can prove that it's unsafe, the DES will probably, I'm not gonna talk for DES, but just knowing how they
Think.
think, they would most likely be very agreeable to removing it entirely.
Oh, boy. What does it take to get something classified as a historic structure?
There is a state level historic commission. There are state personnel who work in that arena. I don't know right off, whether they're, I think they used to be with the Department of Resources and Economic Development, but that department was changed a few years back. But that's one sort of spot to start. And there are state historical and cultural resources, but at the local level, there's no, on that area anyways, I don't think there's any local designation or offering of unique protections to the Ware Boathouse.
It's funny, it's nowhere on our records then. Ware does not think of it. I mean, your average Ware citizen probably doesn't even know it's called the Ware Boathouse, right? I mean, don't even know it's there. Oh, wow, it just sort of
I've
went
lived
But you-
there
I
all
mean,
my
you're in-
life, and do you know how many nice things are gone that I wish would have stayed?
Really? Yeah,
The way it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Go back to the Concord train station,
yeah, okay. Wow. Well, my concern is less about the historic value and more about the lake, the pond.
Right, an
Yeah.
aesthetic
Well, no, no,
characteristic
no.
of the lake has
The
been.
destruction of it harming the fish, harming the environment, that's my concern. The way they went about removing those trees was barbaric.
Yeah.
The way they will probably go about destroying that house is, things will fall in the pond. That's my concern. So-
There's very good evidence of a lot of sediment washing into the pond recently. So if you can get pictures of that, that's something DES would want to look at.
I have to be careful though, right? I have no right to go on that property, right?
You can take it right from the pond.
I can take it from a boat,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
Yes,
I
and.
just want to be
and-
sure I don't set myself up for
And
another
I
fall,
suspect,
right?
myself, within a few days here, I'll be throwing a canoe on the pond to paddle around, and
Take a
I would
look.
have the good fortune of having done that last summer, so, I might even have pictures of that area if there was an interesting structure down on the water.
The only other person I can think of that you might want to reach out to is Fish and Game, where it's a stocked pond. I don't know if they'd have any interest in the nutrient loading that's going on there. I have no idea, but it might be worth a phone call.
Wow, it's just, I feel like we're neophytes when it comes to environmental issues. That's what I've learned this evening. that it's, you know, it's kind of like the same problem. I'm trying to remember what the heck came up, and it was like the water body is governed by one organization, the land shore by somebody else, and nobody's holding hands. Nobody's, the environmental whatever.
Janet, we only talk about it when it doesn't work. You know, there can
That's
be,
true.
there can be 85 instances of
That's
it working okay, people getting the messages, neighbors talking and coming to agreement, and then it's the ones that don't work that,
Okay.
that
That's
rile
fair.
us up
That's
and
fair.
point to the deficiencies.
Right.
A lot of it, and it's not just New Hampshire, and it's not just North America, it's the world all over. A lot of it is handled most efficiently when people know each other and work towards the same ideas. And the difficulties often arise when somebody comes in with the blinders on and say, oh, you know, anything goes up here, not like where I came from, so now I can do what I want to up here. And that causes, you know, difficulties between neighbors, and that causes potentially harm to public resources, water bodies, natural environment, ecosystems, spawning areas, water clarity, water quality.
We're making big gains, though, because a few years ago, builders and homeowners didn't pay attention to silt fences or erosion control, which they now a lot do. A lot don't, but people are learning more and more, and they're being more aware. It takes a while. You know, 15 years ago, nobody needed to do silt fences around anything, really. Nobody enforced it.
Right.
And it's getting more and more every day, and we see it every day.
But
But there's still a lot of people that don't know or don't care.
But don't give up on the little offenses that are in the neighborhood. Because given, even the simplest thing as, oh, all right, the next rainstorm, we don't, you know, remove or don't move 3 pounds of topsoil into the lake, it stays on the ground. You know, that 3 pounds, you know, might be enough nutrients to, you know, tip a balance. So small changes are still relevant, and you know, keeping the feet to the fire and say, you know, look, now you know, we got eyes on you. It's our interest too, as you would with us, likewise.
Yeah.
You know, that brook that's now cascading down your road from up the other side of your house, that's tearing gravel and dumping it, creating new land is an offense and cannot be ignored
Right.
because you won't let it be.
Right. No, I agree with you. I absolutely, I mean.
And ultimately, those
Purity is
attributes you're
very
trying to
common.
protect are of value to the person, at some level, are of value to the person who's seemingly ignorant of them.
Mhm. So the offshoot of the Frank Lloyd Wright home or wrong home, depending on who you talk to, we can't do anything until the first snail or whatever is destroyed, right? We have.
Well, this body, Conservation Commission, perhaps can't do anything. But there are people who work for the state who would love to hear from you. It is what their passion is. It is what their job's about. So don't give up on finding that place.
Somebody
with-
there cares, is what
There
you're
is
saying.
about historic and unique and the type of structures that are associated with famous names and all, even styles.
How about the Frank Lloyd Wright Commission? Give them a buzz, huh? That would be interesting. Well, quite honestly, I've lived here 22 years, and I pretty much turned my cheek on some of the lunacy that has come my direction, because there is that too. But this was one of those moments. I don't know if you've read The Hidden Life of Trees, but the communication network between these trees to get rid of weevils, where they actually share the chemistry in their sap with one another, And as long as their underlings, the little seedlings around them are healthy, they'll actually cross species and teach the pine trees what the chemical balance would be to get their wood not tasty to that particular bug. I mean, we don't do that. We could learn humanity from the trees. So, you know, for me, it was one of those moments of this is a gift. Being here on this pond at this time in history, what a gift. And to watch someone come in and bulldoze, it was shocking.
Mhm.
It was absolutely outrageous and shocking. And I'm sorry, I'm very sorry I didn't just stop everything I was doing that day and march right down here. So, lesson learned for me. But I don't want to see that happen again with that boathouse.
Right.
I don't want to see I'll be at somebody's door,
Well,
you know?
the next step is what you are doing, which is a vigilant watching, so that future and additional offense is headed off. And that's not endangering yourself or, you know, being unreasonable with anybody. So whatever you do, make sure you don't step in the way of moving objects.
Meaning,
Keep your distance, but stay vigilant. You know, I would never advocate needing to put yourself in harm's way in any fashion.
Okay.
The natural world has been around a lot longer than we have, and it'll be around regardless of what we do in some fashion. It doesn't need, you know, advocacy to the point of being unsafe on the water, or unsafe on the woods, or unsafe on the roads, or any of that.
right.
So keep a level head, collect information, share the information. Even on the local level, without a local variance, folks are not permitted to scrape up stumps and dump soil onto the gravel, sand, anything onto the ground surface within 25 feet of a jurisdictional wetland. They do not have carte blanche to do that.
Which will be,
If you see it going on, you know what's going on, talk to the town.
Mhm.
If we have code enforcement, that's something code enforcement is charged with. If we don't have a specific position filler there, then that's another thing that our town administrator deals with, whoever that may be.
It falls on Naomi
Um,
again.
But if cease and desist needs to be reckoned with or exerted, then it can be exerted through the channels. Taking nothing into your own hands, but sharing the information in a timely fashion so a response can clear whatever is being done, and or if it's not approved, stop it. And that's, at some level, that's just it, stop it. It's a simple thing. Something's not right, let's pause and either move away from it or show that it's been properly authorized, and if it's been properly authorized, then we lick our wounds and step back and say, that stinks, but it's the way it is.
Well, let's see where this lands.
Yep, thanks for bringing that to our attention here. I didn't know that case was closed, so that's good to know.
Yeah. And
Well,
it's,
I may have reopened it.
Which is great, yeah, I'm just
Do you
saying.
want a copy of this, or you
Is that what you emailed?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably.
I don't know that I
have
got the email,
everything.
but you guys
You've
might have.
got copies of it.
if you don't need it, I'd gladly hold on
I
to it.
do.
All right, please do, and I'll check with Steve, because I think he
I'm
was,
happy to copy and drop it off if that's what you need.
I will check.
You can swing by.
Absolutely, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
right next door.
But just for background, we've got, you know, similar challenges at Lake Horace. We've got challenges with wetlands right along our, you know, within view of our traveling populace. So it's a season of challenges, of, you know, this sort, maybe not at this level.
I don't know
where this is gonna go, but if WMUR picks it up, please understand this is not meant to be a slap in the face of the commission. This is meant to raise awareness and make this public. Because if we don't do that, every homeowner on all the lakes in New Hampshire will know that, oh, slap on the wrist, plant a few shrubs and you're off. So go ahead, cut all those
Right,
trees.
right. I mean,
You'll have a view.
it's similar in disregard to the folks who are tearing down the road at 130 miles an hour. Oh, shoot, I don't mind, I'll pay $250 and, you know, and more with my insurance, I'm not concerned for the others. So,
That's it.
we gotta stay out of the way, but also, you know, help those who can, with some authority, rein in the reckless behavior.
Well, I'm kind of hoping DES steps up at this point, so that's what I'm trying to do. My point of leverage is to get DES to step up their game here. And I get
Well-
it, we've just gone through COVID, it's impossible to get a hold of anybody. We're all still struggling with all of it.
And just for a point of understanding, both myself and Mike, we work for DES. So, I think we have a sense on what it is supposed to be and an awareness of where the challenges might be. But public awareness, I can say certainly for my program is important. And, nobody wants bad press.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
hoping it raises awareness. I just really want people to understand that it's time to start paying attention to the trees. I wish I had another lifetime. I'm busy doing other things right now, but my other idea is, for folks like yourself, if you've got time, corporations have standing in a court of law. Why don't trees have standing? If I had another lifetime, I would take the entire life to give trees standing in a court of law. Because if we had just killed 12 children, this would be national news. And I get it, I'm making an extreme comparison to make a point.
Oh,
One
point
tree
taken.
provides air for 8 people.
Yeah.
One tree.
And that's why the big trees get big points. Their canopy and their
We need
roots.
'em.
We need their canopy, we need their roots for sure.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, there are some lessons most people never can tune in to take or to receive. Few people, once in a while, get a glimpse. And it sounds like that book's kind
You
of
gotta read it.
talking
Right.
from the view of somebody who's maybe got the precious opportunity to get a bigger glimpse. So thank you for sharing that with us. Unfortunately, taking the complaint seriously probably doesn't feel like much of a response. But spending your time here tonight has been documented, will be documented. It is will be part of the public record forever. So I appreciate your dedication and doing what few do, which is carve out time to gift to something beyond yourself. So thank you for that tonight, Janet.
Thank you guys. And, you know, for all the information you provided to me, I didn't know, so, you know, it's an education. But, that's the whole point of all of this, so I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, you too. Mike, stop over.
Right. I got a bunch of eggs if you want some.
Oh, love it.
All right. That was important, and thank you, Ray, for sharing from your hard-earned and well-earned perspective. Mike jumping in with some information there that was missing. There's some items there in the words from DES that resonate pretty well, but devil's in the details and the follow-through, and it is hard for folks from afar to keep up with everything that's going on everywhere.
Not to belabor the point, we can move on, but for in my division, if we request something, we expect that request to be fulfilled. I don't know how other divisions are, but when I read that, inspection report, I assumed the request was expected to be fulfilled, and the case was closed with nothing.
I think across the department, we use the word request kindly, but just because we're New Hampshire and the way we try to word it, same regulators in other state would use the word demand or
Sure,
insist.
I guess that's
or-
my point, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A request is not a, oh, if you like to. It's, no, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
And we use that word to send a tone that enjoins cooperation and tries not to have folks feel like they are being strong-armed. But the state does need to be strong too. There's a role, for sure. All right. That doesn't even give us anything we can check off of the agenda so far tonight.
But yeah,
How about, we go right to the top and we have a motion regarding the July minutes? Or anybody have comments from reading through them that would suggest there need to be edits?
I did not notice anything.
I wasn't here either.
You weren't?
Yeah.
Still on vacation.
So we have two folks who are here. So we do have a quorum tonight. No, is it? Maybe we table those for now, because our bylaws suggest that the chair should stay out of the making motion or seconding a motion, and probably wouldn't be if you weren't here to necessarily the thing you want to do on, although some could make a motion even if they weren't here.
Well, Mike was here, he makes the motion, we'll second it.
Yes.
All right, Mike, if you want to take that away, and one of you want to take that.
Sure, I'll make a motion to, what was the July minutes?
July 14th, 2021.
To accept the July minutes from 2021.
Second the motion?
All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And we will say all in favor. All right, thank you. And thank you.
here's the plan.
All right, send it down, open it up, let's
Yeah,
take a
so
look.
that-
So
what we
moving
did,
on
what we did,
to
Andy, is
zoning board or
we've-
planning board issues.
we've given everybody a cover sheet, so instead of you trying to email Craig back, because it is gonna be seen, if you wanna just make your notes on that sheet and give it back to me, that comment sheet.
Gotcha, all right, thank you. Thank you. So what we have is Francis and Nancy Burrow Family Trust, Rockland Road and Route 77, tax map 202, lot 94. The purpose of a plan is to depict a two-lot subdivision. So, got a total area of lot 94, 18.6 acres.
He's
Right.
making an 8 acre and a 10 acre?
Site lies within rural ag and commercial zones. Minimum lot size 5 acres. Portion of the site lies within special hazard and aquifer protection district. Both lots to be serviced by on-site wells and subsurface disposal. No current use. And we like to see the promise, and we like to see it followed up. A buffer, this is number 8, buffer of native vegetation with no ground disturbance allowed except for planting, shall be maintained within 25 feet of all jurisdictional wetlands. And forested areas no more than 50% of the basal area shall be removed in any 10-year period. There was one driveway approved by DOT, and the proposed driveway shall be conforming. Let's see, wetlands.
It looks like there's two.
Wetlands were delineated in accordance with the Army Corps of Engineers Wetland Delineation Manual, Technical Report, blah, 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 by Spencer Tate of Meridian Land Services, August 2017. And this subdivision abuts land owned on the corner of Route 77 and Rockland Road by TMS Holdings, who we will talk about a little bit later. All right, so wetland buffers are shown, and you were pointing out what, Mike?
It just looks like there's some, if these are indicating buildings, that they're going through the buffer there.
Doesn't look like there's much room to build on that.
Right tight to Route 77. There's a little spot between the setbacks.
Is that existing?
Is this 20295, is that a separate lot, Naomi?
It's got a different name on it.
Yeah, okay.
That's a lot within that larger lot.
I guess
This
so.
is
but-
owned by someone else,
You're right.
and
His-
so,
That's his daughter.
okay.
Is that Jackie?
So what are, is this the new line here, or is that existing?
I think it's all one parcel right now, this 118-acre parcel. And I don't know what's below it, Andy, there's several pages to the plan, so you might
Right.
have a blow-up.
Yeah. So the existing driveway looks like it crosses two wetland swales. I see the proposed house. I don't see a proposed driveway.
That's the one from DOT. Didn't he say in his note he had a DOT driveway permit? Didn't you read that?
Right, 202-94.3. Right, but the,
That's only, that's
I don't- I
showing
just-
the only curb cut right there into that.
into that separate lot,
Yeah.
which is really curious. I don't know, I guess there's, the driveway, doesn't show where that driveway permit is on that plan anyways, so.
If this is a wet area, right, and you
Right.
got approximate flood, am I assuming that this could flood that way?
Right. That's how.
And they're gonna put a house there? In
I think, I don't think so. I think this is down on the
That's
flat.
downhill, isn't
I
it?
think this could flood up this way.
Yeah.
And these are perched wetlands draining down the hill into the one where the nice marshes are, and the old tracks were.
Right by River Road there, right?
Yeah, I think River Road would probably be right over here,
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Do we have, yeah, there's site. So actually River Road would be somewhere over there, but there's, right, on the east side of River Road is where
The marshland is.
the marsh and the aquifer zone and the big wet is.
It's that low? Do they have any
I see a 300.
contour numbers?
I'm trying to find another
Well,
one.
yeah, you got 300 there. 290, well, that's
Okay.
right. 280 comes through over here,
Yeah, 270. Yeah, so yeah, it's
270.
going down this way.
yeah. So this approximate flood zone has nothing to do with
No.
we're calling perched wetlands. Yeah, I'm still at a loss where the proposed driveway is there. Yeah, proposed well, proposed house. Pretty. Ten feet drop here over 1 inch to 50 feet, yeah, 10-foot drop over 50 feet, that's pretty steep. You gonna bring a driveway in there, or driveway go up here? With all this ledge?
That's a steep
Yeah.
area
So
right there.
I guess one of my questions is, where's a proposed driveway for 94.3? Yeah, 202, 94.3.
There are more details on the next.
Maybe. We would like to see on final plans wetland stamp. We got the good comment, but I have not seen an indication of a stamp yet.
That we don't need.
This is about
Septic.
subsurface disposal. And this is engineering on similar. This is it. All right.
That's probably a cistern.
Ah, the last page, yep.
He's gotta put a cistern in the corner.
Presumably cistern would be,
It's not shown.
yeah, down low and somewhere.
That's on that front, no, that top
Where do you
sheet.
got?
The top sheet shows a little tiny cistern, almost I think down where his hand is.
Oh.
Yeah.
On Rockland.
Yeah.
okay. And the reason we'd be, I mean, house here, presumably driveways off Concord Stage. Wetlands aren't over here, so fine, it seems like a driveway could go in without needing any buffer variance. But that's pretty
Yeah,
decent
This one down
grade.
here, though, is in a swamp, that one.
Yeah, but it's existing.
Existent, yeah, yeah,
So you're gonna split this off.
right.
Maybe they don't have their driveway permit yet. Maybe they're waiting for the subdivision.
Does it say in the notes that they did?
Well, that just isn't adding up to me. It says lot 94.3 was approved by DOT on July 2017 with a permit, and I got the permit number here. Proposed driveway shall conform to the town of Ware driveway regulations of a 10% grade Any lot that will require a steeper driveway grade must show a plan for the entire driveway, including cross-sections. So, where's the driveway plan? I don't know. Or where's, never mind driveway plan, where's the driveway, proposed driveway? And, you know, one of the easiest ways to avoid the, needing a zoning variance is to design your driveway where you're not in the wetland buffer. So I presume it's not in the wetland buffer, but I can't tell.
Well, there's no wetland buffer along 77
Right.
there, because that's up.
Yep. It wouldn't make sense, but sometimes things are proposed that don't make sense.
So that's the house going down the hill, that squared out section right there. That's that house that's just going down the hill before River Road. That's
This
right
one here?
there. It's gotta be that house that's just beyond Rockland Ave, going down the hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tight, really tight.
Yeah. So that's a very small lot,
Right, and
and this goes around it.
presumably they have a well somewhere, and where's the buffer from their well with this proposed 4K area? So I guess we'll add that to number 3 comment.
Looking at that, technically, on the other side of that little property, they could access 77 there as well, correct?
They could, but they'd be going into the floodplain.
Well, that's where they're in the wetlands of the floodplain, right there.
Notice these lines just stop.
Oh, okay.
It's
So-
a very vague.
So,
Yeah.
so that meant, to me, that means they haven't delineated wetlands down this area. So please don't find your driveway in an area where you haven't delineated your wetlands. Like you say, that might, you know, it's a flat spot. You know, that it presumably has a way to get in there. But, see, that's why we ask questions. What do we say?
The wetlands down.
No, the third one was,
Were you speaking of the well?
yes.
Neighbors well location
yeah.
in relation to the 4K area of proposed
Yep.
subject.
Where is 202 lot 95's well? Relative to the shown 4K area. All right. Any other thoughts on that one? Maybe a little value added. Hope it works out. Way too tight. Maybe
That's good enough, yeah.
bend it over. Just, we'll hold it together.
Thank you.
Yep. And thanks for the
Mhm.
expedience of that form. Just noting for the record, it says hearing on that is what?
August 26th.
26, okay. All right, jumping down to correspondence from the Department of Environmental Services. We have a letter came in regarding Ronald and Jacqueline Perrin, 186 Dudley Brook Road, tax map 105, lot 2, complaint of possible violation alleging there was vegetation removed beyond the permissible limits within the protected shoreline of Horace Lake, and no, that's the next one. So I'm not aware of that location. I'm not aware of anybody else in town talking about it, but it is something that state has asked for the owner to respond to, so we'll keep our ears open regarding that one. Anybody else have thoughts on it? Similarly, 55 Winter Road, owned by Mark W. Bailey, map 105, lot 13, complaint of a possible violation alleging impacted protection shoreland, Horace Lake, beyond what was permitted in a prior issued permit. And
There was actually a lot more written to that paragraph of, I just kind of summarized it for you on the agenda, but it said the complaint alleges that you or your agent have impacted the protected shoreline of Horace Lake beyond what was permitted in the shoreline impact permit 2016-02374. This permit was issued October 12th, 2016 to impact 9,768 square feet within the protected shoreland to raise an existing residence, 2 sheds, and a deck from within the waterfront buffer, construct a new residence with decks and an attached garage, relocate the bunkhouse, install stormwater management features, and restore disturbed area with native vegetation. This permit expires on October 12, 2021. The complaint also alleges that you've superseded the threshold of an HDES subsurface system Bureau approval for construction number CA 2007-090625, issued October 24th, 2007. There's a lot going on over there.
yeah,
Same letter, they give him the opportunity to respond within 20 days. That's also in front of the building inspector at the moment, so there's cease and desist right now.
So Andy,
for issues unrelated,
The construction work that's going on.
related to environmental issues or construction issues?
All of what I read to you is still in the construction phase,
Okay,
so he's stopped everything until he gets straightened out with DES.
so that is a case where we as a town have stepped in and said,
Yeah, we did
Hold it.
today.
hold it.
so what would a comment be from the commission that'd be beneficial to DES?
If we're aware of any circumstances
If
around
we
it
saw
or
them
date
continuing to
or,
build or something like that?
Yeah.
Right, if, this is bringing us up to the awareness level.
Yeah.
It's just giving you.
If we know of something else or we see things that are happening that shouldn't, then they appreciate the heads up or they are
Yeah.
designed to regard them, whether they appreciate them or not, the program has to,
You can just keep your ears open, eyes open.
Before we leave those, we have another one that came in by email. Let's see if I can get myself there. We have an email from Richard Hamel, Hamel. This was on,
93 Hodgson?
yes, August 10th. And a concern expressed here is with the new landowner at 93 Hodgson Road that is expanding the backyard by digging a bank out, has dumped loads of boulders down the bank and into a small stream that feeds into Peacock Brook. No precautions in place, guessing no permits. And I emailed him today with some information on on DES, and how to file a complaint or observations with DES. I'm trying to think on the local level, and I guess I asked for pictures too, and so maybe if on the local level we had pictures and boulders into a brook would suggest that there is a
Rocks roll downhill?
buffer disturbance. So where we have ordinance at the local
Sorry.
level is a buffer.
Just making
Wetlands
it more
buffer.
rustic, that's all,
Right.
babbling.
Yeah, no, I hear what he's saying.
So I'd like to see some pictures, see if he sends
Okay.
along some pictures. And if we're seeing something egregious, then it probably is worthy of, trying to think, I mean, our enforcement on the buffer ordinance is code, so inquiries could be made with the owner of 93 as to why boulders are going into a brook and why that would not be appropriate. And if they're not too big, yeah, why don't you take them out? So I will let the commission and let Naomi know if I get some pictures and some return. And just another instance where it seems like some natural resources are potentially being abused. All right, let's jump on to some others. We've got a request that Steve put together for shared funding from the Mildred Hall Request Advisory Committee towards the Poor Farm, the county lot acquisition next to Poor Farm Town Forest. And this is something I've printed out, what Steve prepared, a request. I've signed it and a map. And so let me pass it around quickly and see whether that is something that we want to send along with a motion for approval. We may have already approved it in our discussions prior, but I'm not 100% on that, so suggest, unless somebody has,
Meetings
It
ago.
might be just the change in the funding for it.
You definitely discussed.
we discussed going to
You just,
Mildred
I don't
Hall.
think the funding was talked about.
Okay.
Well, I think there was discussion in Mildred Hall, but I think it was cryptic at best.
Right, so I would be glad to entertain a motion to
Okay.
authorize this request at $40,000 to Mildred Hall Request Advisory Committee.
Make a motion that we put forth the request to Mildred Hall
You have a second on that?
Second.
Advisory Committee. for the amount of $40,000.
All right, do we need any further discussion? There being no need, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do they still have a box in here, Naomi, or can you?
Jerry's got one upstairs.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Who seconded?
That was Ray, yep. We have a reminder from Forest Society that we need to monitor Collins Ledge and report that in, I believe, they look for it by
I think it's by the end of
January.
the- Yeah, it's by the
End of the year, or
Yeah.
first thing in January.
Is
So,
that just a boundary walk that they're looking for or requesting?
that's the biggest piece of it, yeah, and just observations. So, that's something that our folks with Meadows End have done before, or tried to, we've asked them to help us with that, so we need to request some help with that.
The salt shed was on?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep. As well, where down the corner, we had the notice from the landowner saying to in a butter, get your stuff out of here. So,
That's along Russell Drive, right?
but we're getting a lot better with that one, with the help. And we've actually invested a fair bit in trying to have something that we can actually monitor. Last thing under other, the Timberlands Owner Association is asking for a
Your annual $30.
annual dues. And it is a advocacy group that we are supportive of, and that is supportive of us, so, trying to remember, did they send, yeah, they sent a little invoice
On the
along
back.
with that.
Want me to just give it to Beth?
Yeah, budget line,
You have a membership too.
yeah. That would be great, thanks.
Mhm.
All right, couple more items. This is going on to other items. These are things that Matthias sent along. I believe he spoke with us last time about them. But we're looking to authorize another forestry services agreement. This is to do the forestry work around the timber sale, Toby Hill Town Forest. So if you take a look, if you have already, great, of that one.
Got it right here somewhere. Just
And we'll need Steve recommends it, it looks in order, so I'd be glad, I took a look at it, I'd be glad to entertain a motion and a second on that one. And a corollary piece of that, this one I'm a little less certain on, because in the past, Naomi, haven't we had selectmen sign these as landowner?
Yes.
And I suspect just that it's the first one that Matthias has worked up, and he sent it to me. I don't necessarily want to step into that role unless there's some reason to change what we have been doing. Typically, is it a somewhat pro forma thing when it gets to selectmen, or do we need to, sort of package it and prepare a request to selectmen to help?
What would you did you want to,
This is a stumpage agreement on the timber harvest.
Yeah.
Is there any explanation needed, or can I just pass this off?
self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you want me to just scan it and send it to them?
Yeah,
Because the other thing that, and I didn't mean to skip it on here, is the forester contract has long been sitting around. And I think the last time we had Jeremy with us, he looked it over, he added his updated prices, and he put, I think, New Hampshire Forester or something, with the only corrections that he made to it. Other than that, he sent it back to me. I sent it back to Laura. She was fine with it. So do we all need to get together, or have we looked at it enough, or what are we gonna do? Do you want me to just present
If
that to the
it-
board? Because you
I don't
guys
know,
looked at it.
have we seen it with post Laura saying, looks like we're good?
Well, she just said, looks like it's good, because I sent her, Jeremy had written on it and sent it to me. I thought you guys got a copy because it came under, I don't know what the girl's name is in the office. It didn't come from Jeremy, it came
Right.
from Laura? Lisa? Starts with an L.
Yes, it does, and I'm not gonna try.
So she,
No,
yeah,
it makes
so
sense.
she sent it originally to all you guys,
Yeah.
because I wasn't sure.
Expensive, the red pines.
Let's see if I had it.
Red
I,
oak.
I think I'd like to just have us take a look at it,
Red-
and then with that, send it along to the board of selectmen.
Okay.
Still got a red-
So
Yeah.
let's plan
All
that
right,
for,
so if I
for
resend
a
it to
September
you?
agenda item, yeah,
Okay.
to
They're not paying.
approve sending,
Look at firewood.
the contract
It's on the stump,
along to Board of
Yeah,
Selectmen
I
for,
So let me resend with Jeremy's stuff in it,
yeah,
because I didn't fix it yet. I sent it with Jeremy's handwritten. And then Laura sent me the email back and said it was fine. But I'll send that to you guys.
well, could you
No, no, no.
go ahead and
Make the changes.
make the edits, but
Okay.
also include,
Is that,
um,
Yeah.
you know, a
Well,
copy
it's
of
price went up.
the, you know, the last version that Jeremy
Paid
marked
more
up?
this
Yeah, I'll send both.
Okay.
year. More this year than I did last year.
And then, be a September item for you guys.
Right,
And the Where Winter Wanderers should have, they've got theirs, that trail done. I did speak to Ralph, and Laura has it. I haven't, she was gone last week.
right, because we're looking
And
for,
she also is going, yeah, he was looking to come back to you, but wanted to wait for, and I told him Steve wasn't here anyway, and so I know Steve and him had talked about it, so.
yeah. That's where we're looking for an easement to
Yep.
where Winter Wanderers on top of a Spiniff
Yes,
easement.
yep, and he's walking it,
Co-located.
and he's walking it with Wendy. I don't remember what date, they're walking it together.
Yep. All right, so this is in our realm, the Forestry Services Agreement. This is an oddball one because we're not anticipating revenue of any great significance from this timber work. Normally, Meadows End would be paid out of anticipated revenue, and so we wouldn't be billed. But seeing as this is a break even or potentially could be a little bit of a loser, although I don't think those folks are gonna let themselves lose anything on it, it is something, the rare case where we're authorizing funds for the forester to do the sale work. So I need a motion and a second on that one. Called 2021-006FF. Forestry, FSA for Forestry Services Agreement. Do we have a motion to authorize the chair to sign the agreement?
I'll make the motion to authorize that as it's read.
And a second?
Second.
Any thoughts on reading? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All in favor. I will sign that and send it along to Matthias. And this was interesting to see what goes into these stumpage agreements, 'cause, perhaps we haven't seen them all the time. Any thoughts on that as we send it along with our blessing to the selectmen to sign as landowner? I think it's one of the things that selectmen do that many in the conservation community are not necessarily aware of, because there's a long-standing role of town selectmen in forestry work. And it's important to towns like us, so. Do you want this paper copy?
Sure.
I don't
Can I
need
just
it.
take a quick look at
Sure.
it and see this
Yeah,
one?
go ahead.
All right, let me see what, a couple other things that came in through email that should be noted. Thank you for this, Mark. I guess I won't speak to that because it's not signed yet, but it's in motion. I handled the funding request for Mildred Hall. Janet Wilson. Funding. Oh, yeah. I said I was gonna get to this, but I hadn't yet. At the corner of Concord Stage and Rockland, we have, what's it, TMS Diesel has been building and sculpting and rearranging the landscape there. Craig passed along his opinion that it looked like there was a wetland violation. A small pocket wetland was pretty well thrashed. If not opened, it was filled, definitely cleared of all vegetation and driven through a time or two. I think the gap in my understanding on that one is, did Craig follow through with any notification or complaint to DES, or did he just leave that with us as an observation? Did you say or indicate through email, Naomi, that there was a delineated wetland in that area out by the road? Do you recall on the TMS one? Not sure, okay.
No, but I did find the driveway from on here.
You did, all right. Do you want to back up and show me where that is? So maybe
Right here.
right off the corner of that one?
Starts at the ST and goes into, right there, goes into.
All right. Well,
I was looking for the TMS lot, that's all,
Yeah.
and I opened it up.
I'm just wondering why that looks so obvious now when it did not seem so.
I don't recall in the TMS saying anything.
Okay.
I only
Um,
opened up to look at the location.
All right, so let's play this out. We've, wetland buffer that was ignored.
Oops.
What, where, all right, so zoning ordinance was violated. What do we do about it?
We sent a letter.
As code enforcement?
We can.
Do we want to, I think,
Was his email to you to put you on notice, or what was?
yeah, so it's Craig saying, hey, I think there's a wetland violation.
So
Right
does
there.
that do the same thing and file it off to? It's pretty obvious. Is that
Um,
better suited at that level, is what I'm asking.
I don't necessarily think so. This is a property owner in town, we're here. Could you talk to them and say, wasn't there a wetland up there next to the road,
Sure.
and try to
Mhm.
come to some understanding, as opposed to say, we saw something and we ratted on you, or whatever, we told the state, and they may or may not be able to verify anything, because we
Yeah,
we have plans, and the plans are supposed to show jurisdictional wetlands, and.
Yeah, so it goes back to the site plan approval. Goes back to the other issue we have, that the letter, we going to notify them that upon approval of the first driveway, the second one's supposed to be closed and it's not. So we'll just add that to the letter,
Okay, yeah,
because that was part of the site plan.
right.
I'm not sure, I don't know if it's for a sign, I don't know. I wasn't part of what I'm doing now then,
Right.
but there's this
What
this
we're
site
looking
plan.
at as a town is, new construction.
Mhm.
It looks like,
Violation of site plan.
there's a violation, and we'd like to see it recognized and.
Sure.
And, re-honored, if you will, in
Mhm.
some fashion, and not filled in or plowed over or otherwise, disregarded. And try to
Restored.
give the folks there the opportunity to say, no, it wasn't a wetland, or, oops,
Sure.
sorry, and what we're gonna do is rope it off and try to stay out of it now.
We can give them 20 days to respond.
Sure we can.
So would that be, that's right on the corner of the recent tree
Mhm.
removal.
Yeah, and there's that big deep
Yes.
hole.
Mm.
So if that is a
That filled up.
violation, what's a remedy to that?
The remedy is in the future plans, you just stay out of it and give it a chance to
Mhm. Regrow.
Yeah.
naturalize, or if you filled it up with stumps, well, come on, take the stumps out of it and
Yeah.
let it be a pocket wetland, even if
You
it's
gotta do
isolated.
restoration plan.
Yeah, no, I could say, what is, the restoration plan is due within 30 days or whatever.
Mhm. I can snag some wording.
Yeah, I think that's what we should do there.
Okay.
It's state level, very low value,
Sure.
probably not a great use of their resources. And unlike some of the other things we've heard, it's a very localized.
It's not like the shoreland, like the lakes. Yeah,
It
I get it.
doesn't dump into a real high-quality water body. It's a little bit different ball of wax there. I sent around a invite from the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, and this is really a great resource for a local commission to learn things and for commissioners to educate themselves. So, just remind you that if there are registration fees for learning opportunities, talk to me about them. We have a little bit of budget, and we've used it once in a while over the last 15 years. I used it a little bit, prior chair used it a little bit. Or if that's not a concern and you have an opportunity, let other people know about it, and we get to learn some things, sometimes.
Are we a member?
Yes, yeah,
Okay, we're a paid member.
yep.
Then I guess it's open.
Oh, right.
I registered for free. I
Awesome,
registered
good for you.
2 of them.
I forgot. Thank you.
Checking.
It's
Obvious, you guys have read it, that's great.
It's
I
at
will
noon,
stop talking, I want to get out of here
though,
too.
isn't it? They're at noon time.
Yeah.
I will say I know it's a lunchtime thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are, I've done a couple of these and it is very informative. Even just speaking to other town commissions, you do learn a decent amount.
I was gonna go to the new fundamentals of
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah,
That's
it's a
one I signed up
great
for.
idea. All right, I believe that's what I have. And earlier, the word was, we don't have anything else, so we have
Adjourn.
a motion to adjourn at
Second.
8:54. And that's made by Mark, seconded by Ray. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Oh, whoa, hey, I forgot something. Yeah. Never mind, I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 8:55. Golly, I told myself, don't forget that. All right, sorry, we'll temporarily suspend the the adjournment. Neil, come on up to the podium, give us 5 minutes of what you've observed, what your interest is, and we have the role of sending along a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
Well, first, appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. I've been interested in conservation for 40, 50 years. Been a member of the Forest Society for decades. Was very much involved in the Piscataquag Watershed Association when it was PWA. I was on the board, served as president for a couple of years. Still a member, but not active on the board. I've been on the planning board for, I don't know, a decade or so, and been involved in drawing up several master plans for the town. And my interest has been, in light of the surveys that we've done of the people of town, is preserving the rural atmosphere of the town. And one of the ways that that's done is by conservation, preserving open space, for example. So I was very interested in seeing over the years that you folks are using some of the money that we get from sale of certain properties to acquire land for the town. And tonight I heard you talking about adding on another piece to the Poor Farm property that we own. And that's the kind of thing that's interested me, and I'd like to be involved in that, and if possible, help out in doing that. I'm clearly not as knowledgeable as a couple of DES experts on the technicalities of some of the environmental laws. I'm aware of the Shoreline Protection Act, and of course, I know something about the zoning ordinance and the setbacks and so forth that are required there. I guess what I'm saying is I have a certain amount of interest and a certain amount of experience, and for those reasons, I'd like to further the work of the commission by joining it.
And I would say clearly, as evidenced tonight and last week, in just about every meeting, we have a vacancy here at the table. So we have a full membership of 7. We have no limitations on however many alternates might be interested. But an alternate, according to our bylaws, if we have a seat open at any meeting, regular or otherwise, can step in as a acting full member for that meeting. So I'd say with Board of Selectmen approval as an alternate, you could be, hit the ground with moving. We wouldn't need or suggest that anyone would be held at bay. And we got 4 here. One of us can't make it. We're down to 3. There's no meeting. But an alternate can step in and make a quorum so that a meeting can continue, and it's very valuable to have folks who are willing to do that.
A question for you. On the planning board, alternates participated, except for voting.
Different on our commission.
You do it differently.
Yeah, the
You're either at the table or you're not at the table.
Correct. You would
Got
be
it.
a full voting member of the commission
At-
for that time period of the meeting from.
I think what Neil's asking is, could he ask questions?
Oh, absolutely.
As
Full-
and Neil, am I wrong?
You're correct.
If Neil could, if there's 7 of you and Neil's here, but was curious as to what's going on, does he have the right to have conversation, just not a vote?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
that's
If
what
there's
it
a
is.
Thank
full
you.
membership, no vote, but yes.
Yes.
Equal participation
Yes.
in discussion. Yes, sorry about that. Any questions from commissioners present tonight?
There's a wealth of experience.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that'd add to the value of the commission for sure.
Yep. So, do we have a volunteer form
Do-
that I need
I-
to
I don't,
sign?
I mean, we can get you to sign one. I need, the ethics form as well as a signature from you,
Right.
but we can make that work.
Yep.
I think I have your other one upstairs without a
So-
date on it.
Yes, without
I'll come-
reluctance,
I'll come in tomorrow.
when,
Okay.
when you can scan and send along to me. I
Yeah, he
will
said he'll
sign-
come in tomorrow, I'll scan it, send it over
I
to
will
you, sign it and send it
along
back.
And, I guess, just ask, let me know when the membership hearing with the selectmen might be, once
I
that's decided.
somewhat sent it to the agenda, but we'll see.
once-
I mean, I
once
got a long
decided,
agenda for
just-
this week, but we are meeting the 30th as well this month. So we're
Okay.
meeting the 16th and the 30th, which would be prior to your next meeting.
Right.
Because we have a lot on the 16th.
Might be a better
Swearing
fit
in an
on the 30th.
officer, we've got a public
Yeah.
hearing for funds, we've got a lot of,
What I'm hearing is it might be a better fit on the
30th might be a better fit.
Okay.
So there's not a big rush, is what I'm telling you.
Yep. Anything else? And I knew the way I was tracking here, I'm like, say something now or else you're gonna forget to do it before it. I'm like, please, I apologize.
Thank you.
All right. All right, let's try again on that.
Motion to adjourn.
9 o'clock.
Second.
All right, same folks, 9 PM, all in favor? Aye. All in favor.
Okay, Andy. You gonna teach one of those guys how to do
Yeah.
it?